Welcome to the 5 Things You Need to Know About Pregnancy and Recovery series, and we're going to be talking about postpartum depression. Number 1, 15% of women suffer from postpartum depression, so it's quite a lot. And that's actually only the women who report it, which means it could be substantially higher because a lot of women are scared to report it for no good reason, really. And we'll talk about that later. But a lot of women don't want to talk about it. They're ashamed and they don't report it. So it is very common. And it's important that women know that so that you don't beat yourself up about it if it happens. It is actually more common than you think. Number 2, this is different than the baby blues. Now, the baby blues is during the first 2 or 3 weeks after you've given birth. Women tend to feel sad, partly due to hormones, partly due to a number of different things. And this is the baby blues. And they actually say it's up to 80% of women will have that. So that's very common, but don't have that be confused with postpartum depression, because postpartum depression has specific symptoms and can last longer. So if you've got the baby blues, it's still rough to go through, but it's important that you realize that postpartum depression might even be longer than that, and that's maybe when you should see about getting some help. Number 3, the symptoms for postpartum depression can be drastically different from person to person. And sometimes this is also linked with postpartum anxiety, which is more common than people think as well. So any kind of symptoms like having an inability to want to do anything, and all of the depression symptoms of feeling down, all of those, if lasting for a while, it's worth talking to someone, seeing what you can do. But you can also find yourself being restless. You can find yourself worrying too much, and that's more anxiety. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist, and one of the reasons that I'm mentioning this is because I think we need to talk about it. But if you think any of these symptoms are symptoms you have, or if you're worried you might have it, go ahead and look up some symptoms, see if you fall into that group, because it's important that we talk about it, because it does happen. It's completely normal, and women should be able to get help. Number 4, it can actually happen up to a year after you give birth. And that's actually something a lot of women don't realize, is up to a year after you give birth, you can have postpartum depression. And that also goes for up to a year after a miscarriage. And I know people don't want to talk about miscarriages and you want to just put it past you, but miscarriages can be even worse because there's a bit of a trauma there, and a loss and a grief. And so all of that is worth mentioning, that you might have postpartum depression after that. Please go see and get some help if you think you are having any of the symptoms. Have a look and go ahead and get some help. The last thing I want to say for number 5 is you are not weak for going to get help. So please go get some help. Plenty of women suffer from this. It's incredibly common. Mental illness is something that we often have a stigma around, but we shouldn't, because you are becoming your best person you can be by going and getting some help. So go and ask for help. Some counseling, medication, all of these things are possible treatments. But again, you need to go talk to a doctor to get some help. So this 5 Things You Need to Know series was on postpartum depression. Go ahead and check out my YouTube channel, check out my Facebook group, my website. I would love to hear what you think. Comment, share, and I hope to see you again soon.